Thank you, Steve, for that report. And joining us now is Joe Truzman, a senior researcher, analyst, and editor at FDDS's Long War Journal. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we heard these brand new comments from Netanyahu overnight, specifically talking about rescuing the hostages. Tell me what you think this means. And do you think he's being realistic? Could these hostages potentially be rescued?
Right. There's always the potential for hostages to be rescued. I think, though, over the last few months, at least since earlier this year when the ceasefire collapsed, we've observed the IDF rescue, at least recover the bodies of hostages. However, we haven't seen any of them rescued alive. And I think that's paramount here is to rescue these hostages alive, at least the ones that are still in Gaza. So I think this is important. I'm not sure if it's going to happen that with the current strategy that the IDF has, that the IDF is employing. It may have reached its limits already. So I think a ceasefire may be the best option here for Israel to get at least the live hostages back, and of course, recover the bodies of the other hostages.
But is that ceasefire deal realistic, in your opinion? Do you feel like this momentum that everyone keeps talking about from the Iran and Israel ceasefire, that momentum could be now shifted to this part of the region, and a ceasefire and a hostage deal could be reached in the near future?
I mean, I think the problem here is that there are certain obstacles that have impeded a ceasefire deal for many months now. And I think those obstacles is that, specifically, one of the obstacles is that whether Hamas stays in power or not. All right. I think this is obviously something that Israel does not want. And conversely, Hamas wants to stay in power. But so these are very difficult questions that need to be answered. And I think both sides, Hamas and Israel, will have to give some leeway here with their demands if they want a ceasefire. But I think time is against both Hamas and Israel right now, considering all the factors that are involved here. So, I think it is possible, but we have to be careful here. We've seen ceasefire deals almost be achieved in the last more than a year and a half. But, obviously we know only a couple of them have lasted for so long. So we'll have to wait and see.
I know, and we have to remember the toll it takes on these families that have been waiting almost 2 years at this point to get their loved ones back. These conversations, of officials saying there's optimism and then things don't come to fruition. It's a painful game that they're stuck in, and it's a very unfair system that they have to deal with. Tell me why you think there's so much pressure from President Donald Trump at this point in time to get a deal reached.
Right. I mean, as you said, it's almost been 2 years of war. I think there are also other factors, specifically Israel normalizing relations, ties with countries in the region. And I think President Trump wants that to advance. And what's impeding that is the war in Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think that's why we're starting to see more pressure on Israel here to get a ceasefire deal, as we saw with the recent post by President Trump. So, but I think it has a lot to do with advancing normalization with countries in the region.
Right, and we just heard in an interview yesterday from President Donald Trump that there could be even more countries that are interested in joining the Abraham Accords. Tell me, do you think Israel has accomplished their war objectives inside of Gaza?
I think they've gone much farther than I expected. Started tracking this war, obviously, since more than a year and a half ago. And to be quite honest, I didn't expect the successes that they've had so far. Yahya Sinwar's dead. Many of his lieutenants are dead. Obviously, his brothers have been eliminated recently. So Hamas is severely degraded. Severely, all right. They're still operating, but they aren't what they were pre-October 7th, and I think that's a success for the Israelis, to be quite honest with you. Whether Hamas stays in power after this is over, that's another question. And this may be a sacrifice that Israel has to make to get the hostages back. That is, of course, to leave Hamas in power, unfortunately, in the Gaza Strip.
Right, and we know that Israel is saying they're still hitting specific infrastructure sites inside of Gaza as well. And we actually know just from yesterday, I believe, that the IDF actually managed to eliminate one of the founders of Hamas. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's one of the reports that actually came in, as they are still continuing to target very specific people inside of the Gaza Strip. Any take on that? I know we're a little bit short on time, but quick take.
Right. So, yeah, listen, Israel's been doing a great job degrading Hamas's infrastructure, eliminating personnel, as you mentioned. So this is an important achievement. So Hamas is beat now. However, they're not completely down. Nevertheless, I think the IDF's current strategy has hit its limit. So now Israel has to decide: do we want a ceasefire or do we want to keep going?
Thank you so much, Joe, for joining us in this conversation. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.